126 years. That's how old Bata as a company is. So let me take you through the case study of Bata Industries today. Do we know that Bata is actually not an Indian company? Well, it all started when a major breakthrough during World War I broke out. Every business was suffering and only Bata was the only industry that was making profits. But how? Well, Bata Shoes got the contract during the Austria-Hungary War to create shoes for army people because of them being cheap and comfortable. When they started seeing a huge success in this industry, Thomas Bata, the founder of Bata Shoes, saw an opportunity and he started thinking of investing more money in this business. And when Thomas Bata thought of making it into a big opportunity, a major thing happened. Because of World War, the economy took a hit and the unemployment rates rose. But somehow this worked for the Bata Industries. But how? In order to overcome this situation, Thomas Bata had to cut down the prices of their shoes by 50%. They even cut their employees' salary by 40% and no one even complained. In fact, the employees took it wholeheartedly and Bata went on to become a huge success because of their cheap prices in these shoe industry. Coming back to the point that Bata is not an Indian company, it is a company which was started by Thomas Bata in Europe and its current headquarters are in Switzerland. Although we all have thought Bata to be an Indian company, sounds like a household name, right? But how did actually Bata come to India? Which is an interesting point that in 1924, when Thomas Bata thought of expanding their business, India was first on their list because of the availability of raw materials and the cheapness in the prices. The only thing is that India was already being dominated by the local footwear shops, which were using traditional methods to create or to build their shoes. When Thomas Bata came, he was very impressed with the cheap prices and the quality of leather and rubber and saw a huge potential in this market. Despite of having so many local shops in the Indian market, they were able to make a mark only because of their innovative products, which were also cheap for the Indian market, including canvas shoes and rubber-soled sandals, which quickly became popular amongst the Indian customers. The biggest thing and what we call the biggest philosophy which Thomas Bata carried for the Indian market was that they were able to quickly adapt and change according to the cultural benefits, the temperature and the terrains that India has. When he came to India, the market was largely dominated by the local markets, or the shoes were imported mostly from England and Japan. So he started setting his foot in India. The then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru played a pivotal role in bringing Bata to India because he saw that if such a big company comes to India, the employment opportunities are going to be huge for us. Then KL Sehgal worked closely with Bata Industries to expand its business in India. Their first manufacturing unit was set up in Bata Nagar in Kolkata and they started manufacturing shoes for the Indian Army. But Bata was unable to keep up with the demands of the army shoes every now and then. But as the company ramped up the production, it was clear that this order is going to be a game changer for India. Not only did it provide a boost to the company's revenue, but it also established them as high-quality shoe maker. Back then, the biggest competitors of Bata were Liberty Shoes and Relaxo. They have been able to compete with Bata by offering cheap and affordable shoes as well. But then how did Bata stand out? According to a report by Statista, in 2020, Bata Industries acquired almost 9.5% of the footwear industry, while Liberty Shoes acquired 1.9% and Relaxo acquired 2.7% of the footwear industry. Can you see how big the difference is? The only difference that this brand and these brands had was that unlike Bata, these brands focused more on dealer network than increasing their stores. Incorporated in 1931, Bata is currently the biggest footwear market in India with almost 1600 stores across 600 towns and cities in India. The company's major focus has always been value for money. It was in fact in this industry when the first iconic tennis shoes were manufactured. The shoe was a very simple white canvas. In fact, in an interview with Urban Eye, Charles Pingnell also said this, that when we introduced these white canvas shoes in Europe, almost everyone was awestruck with its Indian origin. And he says it's always a great story to tell. After going public in 1973, Bata had the new competitors coming into market like Paradigm and Khadim. And still they went on to become a leader by acquiring the largest market percentage by going on an advertisement spree in the 1980s. Not just that they focused on their utility, affordability and cheapness in the prices, they also focused majorly on catchy taglines that catched everyone's attention back then. Their first ever tagline was, "Be aware of tetanus, always wear a shoe." This tagline was to make aware that tetanus is such a big problem, which was earlier not even accustomed to wearing shoes altogether. In fact, their next tagline was, "First Bata, then to school." And I'm pretty sure all of us have, at least from my generation, people recognize Bata only because of the school shoes, because we all have seen ads around Bata as a school shoe. So let's get to what was Bata's strategy in India. The first, targeting. When we come to think of Bata, they have targeted the right audience. How? Because they have a segregated category of shoes for every category in the Indian household. If upper class, Bata has a separate category of luxurious shoes. If someone is from middle class, they have a separate category of shoes. And if someone is from the lower class, they have a shoe to cover their feet as well. Second point, positioning. Bata has always been positioned as super affordable, cheap, quality and softness. And number 3, marketing campaigns. If we see Bata's advertisements, they have been running amazingly well since the 1980s. In fact, their recent campaign 9 to 9 featured Kriti Sanon wearing Bata shoes and going to office. It was in fact very rare to see Bata as something very fancy where you can wear those shoes even to your offices. Now that we know so much about Bata, the recent news will amaze you more, where Bata has recently collaborated with Adidas. And it is very exciting to know that why did Adidas collaborate with Bata? Well, Adidas wants to expand its market share in India, and which bigger footwear brand to go with than Bata? So Adidas has collaborated with Bata, but what is there for Bata in it? Well, Bata wants to go in the sneaker category because nowadays the youth can only talk about sneakers. But if Bata starts it from scratch, it's going to be very difficult to buy sneakers from Bata, right? So what can be better than collaborating with Adidas and moving into the sneakerization era? And that's why it's going to be a win-win situation for both the companies. Well, if you liked this case study around Bata Industries, we have so many more business case studies coming up for you. So please like, share and subscribe so that we can come up in your feed with more such business case studies.